Chapter 28. Trust. The relationship with God is based on trust. Any relationship should be based on trust, but since we cannot see God because of our fallen nature through the choice Adam and Eve made in the Garden of Eden, it is much harder to trust Him. It is not real from a carnal-minded point of view. It is said that people who had or have father issues find it the hardest to trust in God. It appears to be true, since God is our Father, and for someone whose father was not trustworthy or was a person who was hard to please, they relate to God as they did to their fathers. Not every child does, but most children want to be like their fathers. Boys want to grow up being strong like their fathers and to get into the same profession as their fathers. Girls want to marry boys that look like and are in many ways like their fathers. If their fathers abandoned them, or were drunks and didn't bring their money home to care for their families, or cheated on their mothers, they don't want to be like their fathers. A boy may grow up hating the idea of becoming like his father, and when he becomes a father himself, he may be afraid that he is going to be a bad parent like his father was, or he is going to hate the church and the believers because they talk about God like a father who is trustworthy, a concept that was the biggest disappointment of his life when he was growing up and needed a trustworthy father. A girl may grow up with the idea that men are not trustworthy. They are all cheaters like her father is or was, and she doesn't want to marry a boy who looks like her father. When she does get married, she may have a hard time trusting her husband and trusting God. Trust has a lot to do with our past and our experiences. Everyone has their baggage from their childhood and past experiences, and every bad experience and disappointment of the past is going to influence their lives in the present. If we understand the concept of our Creator, God, who created us out of love and loved us so much that He decided to sacrifice His only begotten Son to save us, we should get past all our bad experiences with our fathers or men involved in our education and our past, and we should trust God. This is easier said than done, and we should know that God knows that. He knows us very well, better than we could ever imagine, and He knows how much time we need to get to the point of trusting Him. He is going to have patience with every one of us and teach us in love how to trust Him. He loves us more than we know. As I mentioned already, every problem we run into, regardless if it's our fault or not, they are all meant to help us learn to trust God. He could protect us from every trouble. But if He did that, we wouldn't learn to trust Him. Our trust in God has to be validated. I said already, if a problem comes my way and I freak out, instead of trusting God, He is going to teach me some things about trust through some people I meet, through a book I read, through reading the Bible, or any other way. And after a while, He is going to let me go through the same or similar things so that I can decide to put my trust in God as soon as the problem comes up. As long as we did not hear about these things, it was hard to understand. And as a fact, in churches today, they teach many other ideas about our problems, starting with us blaming ourselves for our problems because we created them all by ourselves, or that they are punishment for our shortcomings with God. We may have created some of our problems ourselves, but let's not forget that Paul said that all things work together for good to those who love God. And this includes the things we bring upon ourselves, too. If somebody would not let their 1-year-old child learn to walk, loving it so much that they wouldn't let it try walking out of fear of hurting itself, we would not think of them as being very smart people. When we hurt, we know that God's heart hurts with us because He loves us. But we need to learn walking by faith and trusting God. You cannot trust God in words, but only in deeds. Faith comes by hearing the words, but trust comes by going through trouble so that you have your chance to prove your trust. God doesn't need proof of our trust. He knows us very well, but we need to prove it for our sakes. When you decide to trust God in a distressing situation, regardless that there is no escape in sight, He is trustworthy and keeps His word, saving you from what the carnal mind is afraid of. Once you have one experience trusting God and seeing that He did His part, You have laid the first block on the foundation of your trust in God. You need to keep that experience alive, in your mind and in your heart, so that when the next problem comes, you will remember to put your trust in Him. One thing we can be sure of: He is always trustworthy and will never let us down. We need to trust Him even when things look like there is no solution for our problems. Jesus promised to take our burden and our load if we come to Him. If we lose our minds when we get problems, it means that we did not come to Jesus with them. My problems are Jesus' problem because I am in Him and He in me. I trust Him in many things, but I still learn trusting Him in other things, living full of hope that one day soon I will be able to trust Him like a newborn child who sleeps in the strong hands of his loving Father. This is true relationship.